It all began innocently enough, or at least it seemed that way at first. I never imagined the person I had once considered family would one day be the source of so much pain, stress, and turmoil. My ex-mother in law, let's call her Diana, was, to put it plainly, a difficult person to deal with from the start, but I never expected things to escalate as they did. The truth is, from the moment I married her son, I knew there were tensions. Diana had always had a very possessive and controlling relationship with her son. She was not one to share, and certainly not one to let go of the reins easily. Over time, I learned to accept it and even tried my best to build a good relationship with her. After all, she was family, and I believed that with patience and understanding, things would get better. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Diana's behavior began to shift in subtle ways. It was as if every interaction was a silent competition for her son's attention and approval. Small things like her criticism of the way I decorated our home or the way I raised my children became a daily burden. At first, I brushed it off. But the more she pushed, the more I realized something darker was brewing. It wasn't until the end of my marriage that the true extent of her manipulation and control became apparent. After my divorce, I did my best to keep a peaceful relationship with Diana for the sake of the children. However, it became clear that Diana couldn't let go of the past. She was determined to keep a hold on her son, and by extension, my children. She tried to divide us in every possible way. The harassment began gradually. At first, it was small things, messages filled with passive-aggressive remarks, unwarranted opinions about my parenting, and veiled threats about the future. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it wasn't long before the situation escalated. One day, I came home to find two unfamiliar men standing at my door. They were older, one with a thick beard and the other with a cold, calculating look in his eyes. They were dressed in dark clothing and had the air of people who meant business. At first, I thought I was mistaken, perhaps they were lost. But when they introduced themselves as friends of Diana, my stomach dropped. They wasted no time. They began to accuse me of various things, things I had never even heard of before. They accused me of keeping the children from their grandmother, of denying Diana access to her own son and grandchildren. Their words were harsh and filled with hostility. They demanded that I allow Diana more time with the children, as if they had some right to dictate how I raised them. The entire conversation was surreal. I felt completely blindsided, and to be honest, I was terrified. These men weren't just making small talk, they were threatening me, intimidating me into submission. They claimed to have legal connections and hinted that things could get ugly if I didn't comply with their demands. My heart raced as I struggled to understand what was happening. Was this a legal matter? Was I in some kind of trouble? When I tried to refuse, they grew more aggressive, their voices raised, and their demands more unreasonable. I felt trapped in my own home with no way out. It wasn't until I threatened to call the police that they reluctantly left, but not before promising they would return. That was the moment everything changed. For days, I couldn't shake the fear that hung over me. It was as if the walls of my house were closing in. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time the doorbell rang, my heart would race, wondering if these men would show up again. But it wasn't just the men Diana's harassment intensified. She would call incessantly, leaving voicemails filled with accusations and threats. Sometimes she would leave cryptic messages, telling me how much she missed her son and couldn't bear to be apart from her grandchildren. I realized that Diana wasn't just trying to manipulate me, she was actively trying to destroy the life I had built for myself and my children. She wanted to take control again, to break my spirit and make me submit to her demands. But this time, I wasn't going to let her win. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't the only one suffering from her actions. My children were affected too. They were scared, confused, and stressed. Every time Diana's name came up, their faces would fall. I knew I had to protect them, not just from her harassment, but from the toxic environment she was trying to create. I couldn't let her continue to dictate our lives. So I did what I had never thought I would do. I exposed her lies. I documented everything, every phone call, every text message, every encounter. I reached out to friends and family who had witnessed her behavior over the years and asked them to come forward. I gathered everything I needed to prove that Diana was the one causing all the chaos and stress in our lives, not me. But I didn't stop there. I decided to take action. I contacted a lawyer and filed a restraining order against Diana and her two associates. I couldn't risk leaving my family vulnerable to more harassment and threats. The process was long and difficult, but with the help of my lawyer, I managed to get the order in place. In the meantime, I made sure to protect my children from Diana's manipulations. I limited contact and made it clear that their safety and well-being were my top priority. Diana fought back, of course. She spread more lies, tried to turn people against me, and continued her campaign of harassment. But no matter how much she tried, I refused to let her win. The truth was out, and the support I received from friends and family was overwhelming. People who had once been afraid to speak out now stood by my side, offering encouragement and understanding. They knew what Diana was capable of, and they knew how much I had endured over the years. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I doubted myself, when I wondered if I had done the right thing. But in the end, I knew I had to protect my family. I had to stand up for what was right and expose the lies that had been destroying our peace. Today, I can say that I'm free. My family is safe, and the stress that Diana caused is no longer a constant presence in our lives. I'm rebuilding the life I once had, one step at a time. It's not perfect, but it's ours, and I'll continue to fight for it no matter what. Looking back, I realize that sometimes we have to expose the darkness in order to let the light in. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And when we stand up for ourselves, when we refuse to be silenced, we give ourselves the power to take back our happiness. In the end, protecting my family's happiness wasn't just about keeping Diana at bay. It was about reclaiming our peace, our security, and our future. And for that, I will forever be grateful.